Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Dr. Tracy Gapin on the line. He's CEO and founder over at Peak Launch and Gapin Institute. Dr. Tracy, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much. Glad to be with you today.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about today, so we're definitely going to get into health optimization and reclaiming your edge. So, and who doesn't want that? And also talk about what you're doing to help MDs and doctors out there build thriving cash-based longevity practices. But before we get into that, we'll start this episode the way that we like to start them, with what we like to call our Mission Matters Minute. So at Mission Matters, our aim and our goal is to amplify stories for entrepreneurs, for experts, and that's our mission. Dr. Tracy, what mission matters to you?
I love that question. For me, it's really all about how can I help leaders really live their best life, and whether that's at work, whether that's at home, being a husband, being a parent, being a leader in the community. And that applies to, high-performing individuals, whether it's a business owner, whether it's an executive, whether it's a founder of a company, whether it's a community leader, even as a parent. We are all trying to be our absolute best. And I really believe that how we show up every day is affected by our health, and I don't think we pay it nearly enough attention. And so my mission is really to help leaders be their absolute best again, and I'm working with doctors to help really expand that mission as well.
How did you get into the business of wanting to help doctors? I find that very interesting whenever somebody kind of takes that, carves out that niche for themselves. How did you get into that?
Yeah, so, I was a urologist, a board-certified urologist for 27 years, and I came to learn through some actual personal deep work recently that I became a doctor when I decided to be a doctor when I was a kid, really out of fear, out of the need for acceptance from my family and some childhood trauma that kind of made me make that decision very early on. And so I went through a career really stuck and unhappy and an unfulfilling career that wasn't necessarily by choice of purpose or passion, but really out of the need for acceptance. And so now that I have gotten out of traditional medicine, I built a business around optimizing the lives of high-performing leaders around health and energy, focus, drive, and longevity. I realize how it has changed my life and to give back to other doctors and help them experience the same thing as well. And I'll tell you, I wake up every day and I have such gratitude that I get to do what I do now and get to follow my heart and my passion. And when I was a doctor, it wasn't like that at all. It was really out of a sense of obligation. And, being a doctor is tough, and it's a grind, and it's never enough. You're forced to continue to sacrifice and neglect yourself for the sake of your patients, which is what you do every day. And now it's really all about how can you love yourself and how can you really build a business that you love and a life that you love, like I've done. And so that's why I just find it so near and dear to my heart.
Can you go, maybe, and as a doctor, you went through this in 20 years or so, and doctors, they're going through a lot nowadays, a lot of different, they always have, of course, but there's a lot of things going at them. So, like, maintaining, becoming more profitable, there's enough pressures coming to them from the other direction. Can you talk about that a little bit? Like, just what the environment's like right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. People tend to focus on the patient side of it, which patients are suffering right now as well with worsening care and chronic disease, and doctors are burned out. But from the doctor side, they've become disillusioned. They are puppets to the bureaucracy, the hospital systems, the insurance companies, and they're at the mercy of insurance companies, and they've lost any control whatsoever. And doctors are burned out. They're exhausted. They're frustrated. They've lost their sense of why they become a doctor in the first place. And unfortunately, that trickles down to the patient, and the patient feels it. The patient doesn't get the same level of care and service and love that they deserve. And so it's a broken system, and it's broken from its core, that it's focused on volume. It's focused on passively waiting until there's disease, until there's a problem, and then throwing a drug at it. And it's all run by pharmaceuticals and insurance companies, and it's gotten to the point now where it needs to change. And I think it starts with the doctors.
Yeah. So speaking of the doctors, what's the biggest mindset shift that physicians need to be thinking about as they're moving into this new model?
Yeah, so actually I'm glad you asked that question. We haven't talked about this, but I've actually written my second book, and it's written for doctors.
Oh, and nice. I love plugging a book, man. What's the name of it?
There you go.
Nobody tells me anything around here.
It's as of yet untitled, so the second draft is finished. final editing phase.
All right, I feel better then. All right, I feel better.
Yeah, no, don't feel bad.
On the outside, go ahead.
Yeah, but the main premise of the book is doctors have to shift their mindset from doctor to CEO. Okay, Now what I mean by that is you don't necessarily want to be a CEO or an executive of a company, but you have to think like a leader, think like an entrepreneur, think about a business leader, and have a very different perspective where you're no longer just a practitioner. You're no longer just the grunt work. You have to think as a leader, think at a higher level, and how could you build a team around you to reach more clients and have more success? And it's the concept of who, not how, where it talks about building a team around you. And it's a concept of I love Ben Hardy, the concept of Gapin the gain, and focus on gratitude and recognize how far you've come and how can you leverage your experience in a better and different way. And doctors right now, they're like rats on a wheel, and you can only go so fast to keep up. And I'll tell you, when I was in urology, I had 6 minutes per patient. And I'm treating prostate cancer. I'm dealing with serious disease. And what can you really accomplish in such a short time? And so that's where I really just think things have to change.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit more about the, first off, peak launch and Gapin Institute. So tell me the connection. How do those work? Like, give me the lay of the land. Yeah.
So I launched Gapin Institute about 8 years ago while I was still a urologist, still running a busy surgical practice. And I recognized that I had a real passion for health optimization, for performance, for longevity. Now, what does that mean? That really means that instead of treating disease, instead of treating a kidney stone, a urinary infection, prostate cancer, actual diagnosis code diseases, how can I help leaders have more energy and better focus and have better drive and feel more confidence and feel more alive and have a better body that they're proud of and have better sex with their partner and be a better father, better leader, better role model. And it often happens when you build a business, you're your best client. It was really built around the transformation that I went through myself personally when the healthcare system failed me. So I was a urologist again, and I was about 30 pounds overweight and stressed out and felt like crap. And I knew something had to change. And my concierge doc had no answers for me. And so that's what got me to find this entire new world of approaching healthcare in a very different way. More proactive, using more personalized diagnostics and genetics to individualize, and using data to really track outcomes and really take a very different approach that incorporates not just prescribing medications like most doctors want to do, but focusing on lifestyle and optimization and focusing on data to really drive decisions. And that's what's really missing in our healthcare system today.
So what types of individuals do you work with? Like, is there a niche? What's kind of the sweet spot there?
Yeah, when I first started, it was all men. So coming from the urology world, men's health was really my niche, and that was really who I focused on. And very quickly we learned when we opened the business back in 2019, 2020, that a lot of the men would come in, and the wives who came with them, who dragged the men in, the wives make all the decisions, it seems. The wives would say, well, what about me? And I very quickly realized that it doesn't make any sense to optimize half the world if the other half is sitting there, not getting help. And so I built a team, a women's health team as well. And so now we work with both men and women. We work with typically age 40 to 55 or 60, and typically they're leaders, they're entrepreneurs, they're founders, running a small business. They are struggling with low energy. They're struggling with, loss of focus, concentration, don't have the same drive. It's affecting their performance at work. It's affecting their ability to show up and be present and engaged parents after work. It's affecting intimacy with their partners. It's affecting their relationships and their friendships and their ability to go out and practice the sports that they love or whatever leisure activities are important to them. And it's affecting their quality of life. And you go to your medical doctor and say, hey, I don't have the same energy I used to have. I want to play tennis, but I just can't. I just don't feel good. I'm not sleeping well. Yeah. Your doctor would laugh and maybe prescribe something like an Ambien or something to help you sleep. And that's it. They don't have any answers. Instead, we got to focus on really the fundamentals that matter. And that's really what it comes down to.
So switching here slightly, you talk about data and you talk about performance starting with data. Let's get into peak launch a little bit further. I want to talk about that piece of it too, and using advanced diagnostic. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I'll give you a great example. One of my clients, this was just a couple weeks ago, Ken told me how he was sleeping great. I was like, okay, I believe you. Let me see the data. Yeah. He pulls out his phone. He pulls up the Aura app. He was wearing an Aura ring, and he had slept 7 hours and 11 minutes that previous night, which sounds pretty good, right? And most people, if you say, how'd you sleep? I slept 7+ hours, I'm fine. Well, what actually really matters is the fact that there are stages of sleep that affect your recovery, your body's repair system, hormone production, other really key things that happen while you're sleeping. And they happen during certain stages of sleep. So the night isn't all the same uniform sleep. You have REM sleep, you have light sleep, which is non-REM, and then deep sleep, which is non-REM. What matters is that the REM and the deep sleep stages are very critical key stages of sleep that give you specific benefits. Ken slept 7 hours and 11 minutes or 14 minutes that night. He had 1 minute of deep sleep. 1 minute of deep sleep that entire night. And you need an hour. Your body needs an hour of deep sleep to get the good quality repair that you need. And so great example of without using data, you'd never know. Another example would be stress. So a lot of the leaders I work with, they tell me stress doesn't affect them. I'm fine. It doesn't bother me. Well, let's measure it. Let's see. And so you can use a chest strap, and there are a couple of them out there that I love. Morpheus makes a great one. Polar makes a great one. And what you can do is every morning you can measure what's called heart rate variability, or HRV. And heart rate variability is really a marker of your nervous system. It shows you the balance of the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous systems. And this is important because the parasympathetic nervous system is what you'll want to have dominant. It's the rest and relax part of your system. It helps keep you in control. And when you're out of balance, when your body, your system is stressed, that breaks down muscle. That makes you store fat. It raises blood sugar. It affects your sleep quality. It affects your gut. It affects hormones. It affects a lot of different things in your body. And you can actually measure this stress. And so heart rate variability is not something you want to measure all day. So a lot of people will wear like Fitbit or Whoop or even Aura.
You glued to it, right?
No, yeah. What you want to do is you want to look at one single snapshot in time every morning in a rested state and compare it one day to the next. And now you can start to compare apples to apples and understand how your body is responding. So a lot of times your body may be stressed from, maybe it's poor sleep, maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's overtraining in the gym. And you'll see it on your HRV data. Your HRV should be nice and high and stable and hopefully increasing over time. But if it's ever super low, that tells you something is wrong, and you can start to track and understand your behaviors and how you can adapt.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Tracy, this has been a lot of fun having you on the show today and getting to know more about your work. And for those that are listening in, how do they follow up? How do they keep the conversation going? How do they connect?
Well, thanks so much. So you can go to my website. It's gapininstitute.com. That's GAPIN Institute.com. And have a gift for the listeners. If you go to gapininstitute.com/launch, that's LAUNCH. I have a high-performance health handbook. I have 15 strategies and tactics you can start employing today to have better energy, focus, and drive.
I got to put your feet to the fire here. When's that book coming out, man?
So probably. So I actually have two. I have two publishers fighting over it right now, actually. So I'm hoping for 26. It's coming out 26 for sure. Just don't know which month. Somewhere around October. Yeah.
Amazing. Wonderful. And for everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so you can just click on the links and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Dr. Tracy, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks so much.